Welcome everyone to your favorite show, My Gen ZW, a show where we bring people, different people, to come and tell us about their journey in life. Today we have a gentleman here by the name Kensington Kapanga from Zimbabwe. Before I waste any of your time, can I go straight to ask Mr. Kensington Kapanga, can you please tell us who you are, where you were born, Mr. Kensington Kapanga?
Thank you. As you have already said, my name is Kensington Kapanga. I was born in a family of 6. I'm from Mount Darwin, Zimbabwe. Out of the 6, I'm the third born. Yes, I'm the third born. So, and we've got 2 girls. The rest are boys. Yes.
Okay. Can you just please go on and tell us, you said you were born in Mount Darwin. By the way, where exactly in Mount Darwin?
Okay, I was born in Mount Darwin in a village called Gouveia, under Chief Nembire, somewhere there. Yes, you know, we are close to Mavradona range.
Okay.
Maybe you can have a clear picture.
Okay.
Yes.
I think Mavradona is one of those places, the very attractive places in Zimbabwe. It's a well-known place, Mavradona.
Yes.
Okay. Can you please go on and tell us about your primary education? How, when you started going to school, and probably which school did you go to, and how were the things back then?
You see, it's a long story. The primary was full of what should I say, breaks and go, things like that. Actually, I was born on the 30th of September 1973. So I remember going to school way back in 1979, going to school somewhere in Mondoro there. And during that time, I was staying with my father. By then, my parents had divorced, had separated. So I was staying with the father during that time, 1979. So my father got arrested whilst we were still there in Mondoro, and I had to stop going to school. He was arrested because, you know, during during the liberation struggle, they were doing all sorts of sabotage, stealing from the white men's products, whatever, you know, doing vandalism and all that. So he was one of the culprits, and he was arrested. So I stopped going to school. Then I had to resume school in 1982. In 1981, when I tried to register, now we were in Chiweshe there, under Centenary, still in Mashonaland Central. And when I tried to register for grade 1, I was staying with my auntie by then. I couldn't register now because it was now after independence, so there were a lot of big guys who were coming from, you know, the struggle. Now they wanted to go back to school.
Okay.
So now, since I was very young, I wasn't given that opportunity. The classes were full. So 1980, 81, 82, that's when I started grade 1. Yes. That's in Chiweshe there at Goteka Primary School. During that time, my father got released from prison in 1982 through presidential amnesty. Yes, so he had to take us from our auntie, and that's when we went back to Mount Darwin.
All right.
Yes,
All
where my father established, though he was still single.
Okay.
Yes, so I had to continue my primary there from November 1982 at Kuondo Primary School.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Kapanga. I'm sorry to interrupt you. you started grade 1 in Mondoro.
Yes.
And you just told us that during that time, that was the time when it was just after independence. So
No, it was still before independence. That
It
was
was-
1979.
Oh, that was in 1979.
Yes.
Okay.
At Goteka 19, that's when I started grade 1, 82. That was now after independence.
After independence.
Yes.
Yeah. What I was going to ask is, when you started school after independence, 1982.
Yes.
82. You just said there were a lot of big guys because it was after independence, and the schooling, if I still remember, it was like open for even the big guys were allowed to come and restart. How were you finding it in a class with those big guys?
You see, it was a challenging situation, but you had to maybe make friends with them, some of them, but we were all school. We were all equally the same. But now when it comes to responsibilities, when you play at the playgrounds there, that's when maybe you would face some challenges, bullying and all that. But now you had to comply and go for your age if you yes.
Sorry again. So there was some kind of bullying, because I would want to think when you are a small-bodied guy or a small-bodied child doing grade 1 and you have somebody maybe with 15 years, how was this behavior of...
You see, wherever people gather, be it of the same age, there is always bullying and, so it's always... You have to up your gear if you're like, what should I say? If you are someone who is reserved, they will bully you around.
They will bully you.
Yeah. So even if you are the victim, you have to find your own also to, where you can show also yourself.
Okay,
Yes.
okay,
So
to defend yourself.
yes. So the circle goes around. So
what-
it depends where you are.
What about with the teachers? How was the behavior of the big guys with the teachers by then?
You see, by then, a school child was a school child, irregardless of your age. That's why I like the curriculum or whatever, the discipline which we maintained at school, regardless of your age. You had to comply and you had to work under instructions
From the teachers?
Yeah, from the teachers. Yes.
Okay. So you may continue. You were now in grade 1.
Right, in grade 1, now at Kuondo School, grade 2, grade 3, until grade 7. Life wasn't that easy. Remember going to school from grade 1 until I finished grade 7. I had never worn a uniform.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
There was a school uniform.
There was
but
school uniform.
you never had,
I
never worn
don't
this.
remember wearing a school uniform. Why? I come from a very poor family. The mother is not there, like what I said. Every day we had to try to make ends meet. So, I was good in class. So, I think maybe that was the comfort that I could have. Yes, but when it comes to schooling, yes, I was one of the amongst the top. Yes,
The top ones.
Yes. So
how far was the school from home?
by then it was roughly around 3 to 4 k's. 3 to 4 k's. So in rural areas, it was very close. If we are talking of those
3 to 4,
kilometers.
comparing,
Yes.
to where other kids were coming from.
Like now these days, 3 to 4 k's, you need a taxi. But by then, there was no means of transport, and we will never think of one. Yes, so it was just a usual
So you
thing.
would wake up in the morning, prepare something. What was happening there?
Yes, by then, like I said, we were only the boys and one girl who was the first one. The last girl was very small by then, was a toddler. So our sister would prepare food for us, and our mother, who's our stepmother, but we had to wake up very early, go and fetch some water, so that our mother would prepare something for us, be it porridge, be it maheu, or be it sadza, whatever. If it's in summer where the pumpkins are red and the mealies, would have breakfast from those kind of things. Yes.
Okay. So after school, you would come as a group again.
After school, yes. After school, there were some challenges.
Tell us.
After
That's the challenge that we want to hear.
After school, if maybe by chance there's someone who wants to fight you, if you are ready to fight, you had to wait. Yes. But if you you know that I can't stand the ground, the moment the bell rings, the
you have to
moment
disappear.
you are told you are dismissed,
Yeah.
you have to run for your life.
Tell me something, Mr. Kapanga. This fighting that you were doing as young as you were, the bigger guys would arrange, or it was just something between, you know, like it seems like there were a lot of misunderstanding where you could just now, you know, you're gonna fight after school.
No, sometimes yes, the big guys would, but sometimes you would find that there's a misunderstanding or between the two, maybe of the same age, or someone would want to bully you and you resist and say, no, you can't do that to me. Then the big guys now or else would say, no, you can't do this, no, this one will beat you. Then you stand your ground and say, no, you can't beat me. Or else he says, no, this one can't beat me. Then a fight is arranged.
Or then the fight is arranged after school. To say after school.
Yes.
Already people know that
after school
we will have a fight.
Yes. So sometimes you would find your opponent already waiting for you. Or else those big guys, they are already waiting so that no one will run away.
Just take us through, how was the fight there? How were they, you know, like after school, now the fight is supposed to take place now. Take us through what was...
You see, sometimes I remember one fight that I had with a girl. She was very much older than me. But now, the fact that I'm told that you're a man, you can't be beaten by a girl. I had to challenge her, but knowing that very well that she's too big for me.
Yes.
And now I tried to run away, but like I said, those big guys now, they were waiting and they to arrange the fight. And now, because I want to protect my ego as a boy, I can't be beaten by a lady. Then the fight started. And she outclassed me, all systems out. But still I could not admit that she has, she's beaten me. I could not surrender until those big guys, they said, no, let's stop the fight, let them go. And knowing very well that inside of me, that is too much for me. Yes, but now because of that ego, I could not just say surrender. Yes. So that was the type of life in school. And sometimes you would find someone whom you can bully, or if he tries to stand his ground, you can also outclass him. So it was just like that.
Oh,
that
very
was the
interesting.
life.
Tell us now, after school, when you are at home now, what was the kind of life?
After school, when we get home, mostly there's no lunch. We only get lunch, get the evening meal, which was the supper. So after school, when we get home, we would maybe look for maputi, whatever is there, depending with the season. If it's summer season, when the meals are ready, or else during harvest season, there's plenty of food, so it's not an issue. But the challenges were during when October, November, when everything is dried up, nothing, maybe only some wild fruits like majanje. Yes, but otherwise, yes, we would wait for supper.
For supper.
Yes.
By the way, the maputi is the dried
roasted mealies. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Take us through to, when it was time for your high school now.
Right. Now, after completing my grade 7, I had to enroll for secondary education. At the same school, there was a high school there.
Okay.
Yes. So I enrolled there, but now there was no fees for me. I went a few months, then I was expelled from school because of non-payment of fees. So I was expelled from school.
Sorry, Ken Kapanga. What was the procedure for expelling a kid for not paying school fees? Can you just take us,
Yeah.
what was the procedure? What was happening there?
What
How were they doing it?
what would they do is, like, during the beginning of the year, yes, we've enrolled, we were issued with books, regardless of whoever is paid or not. We were issued with books, exercise books and everything, so school classes would resume. But now the school governing body or the school committee would come eventually after, maybe they would expect by such a time everyone should have paid the fees. So maybe in February, March, they would come into classes. They've got the list of people who have paid and those who haven't paid. So they would call out the names of those who haven't paid. Then you are told to vacate the school, go out of the school premises. The tomorrow morning, if you come again, they would do the same thing until, because it's an embarrassing thing, so you end up not going. Eventually, you had to call it a day.
In your case, when you go back home, you tell your father and your mom to say, I've been expelled. How were they taking it?
Like I said, I don't know what was going in his mind, my father, but you'd just take everything as normal. So, yes, you'd take everything as normal, but
you could see that the parents are now trying to raise some funds or something.
No. My father would never make that an attempt. That was, I don't know, maybe that was his nature, but it was like that. So eventually, that's why I said, because there was no effort from my father, I was staying with the stepmother, but there was no effort, so I had to quit school.
Okay.
Yes, that was 89. 1990, I had to, I was tired of just getting seated at home. I had to repeat grade 7 just for fun. Yes, I had to repeat grade 7 just for fun. Just to while up time. Instead of going to Form 1, 91, I failed again. So 91, I had to spend the whole year heading cattle for some people so that I could get a bit of some money, and I had to keep that money to start schooling Form 1. Okay. That was 1992 now. So eventually I started Form 1, now at a different school, which was very far from where I was staying. I think that was around maybe would say 9 to 10 Ks. That's where I was now going for Form 1. Form 2, Form 3, a certain teacher paid for my fees. Form 4, non-payment of fees, I was expelled from school. But then now, the school committee had to make a plan for me because I was very good in class, and also, then the school committee said, no, let's arrange something for this boy. Let's give him work so that he can work for us, for the school. Okay. Then we pay for his fees.
For his fees.
Yes,
okay.
That's when my fees was paid by the school. The exam fee was paid by the social welfare department, and I managed to write my O-level, Form 4. Form 3, sorry, there was a teacher, our English teacher, Mautsa. He paid for my fees, and I had to do some jobs for him. He used to raise some chickens.
Okay.
Yes, I had to build, do some manual work for him. To just small jobs. Then he had to pay for my fees. Yes. So that's how I managed to finish my okay. O-level.
All right.
Yes.
Now, after completing your O-level now, that is Form 4, then what did you do? What happens?
Right. Now, after completing my high school, that was 95. I was now a big boy. So after completing my O-level, then the rural areas, I decided to go to town to look for employment now. Because, 5 O-levels, you were considered someone who, now you can look for employment. I was now marketable. So now I waited for my results. When they were out, that's when I went to Harare. I looked for employment. I made my applications. I submitted applications that were okay, and I wrote some interviews. I passed the interview. Then my file was opened. My records were kept. I went to Mondoro where my cousin brother was working as a policeman. I stayed with him for a couple of months, I think from April there. And that's when I was working for Power Sales, you know.
It was a chain store.
Yes.
Back then.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a well-known chain store. Eh?
Yes,
Yeah.
selling clothes, you know. So I was just a shop
I
attendant.
remember they used to play loud music.
Yes.
I mean, in front of their shops, so you could see and hear from afar. Hey, there's Power Sales there.
Yes. So I was one of the shop attendants. So I worked there for a few months. And by then, when I was still there in Mondoro, that's when I gave my life to Christ. Yes.
Okay.
So I worked there until November, and that's OK phoned me. There was now a vacancy at OK Kwazana. So I left Power Sales immediately and went to OK chain store. That's where I started to work. I just worked there November, December, January, February. My contract was terminated. Yes. But apparently by then, I had applied for a place, a college, another Institute of Technology. And as I stopped working, my response came that I had got a place to study.
Okay.
Yes. Harare Institute of Technology, then Belvedere in Harare. Yes. So that's when I did my vocational training there from 99 until 2000 April.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So yes.
Now you finish your
My tertiary.
you're qualified.
Yes.
Yes. Then what happened?
So from there, soon after qualifying, I was doing a vocational training as a fitter and turner. So I passed my trade test, everything. A company that I had done attachment with, that there was a guy who was my foreman there. He looked for me, so he called me and said I must come and work for him where he was working. So I didn't struggle, you know.
Okay. So during your attachment, it looks like, or it seems like you were a good student to them. Because when you see the former manager or the former foreman, he had to look for you.
Yeah.
So we can say behavior-wise, and you were good in what you were doing, and you had good behavior.
Yes, my behavior, my character, you know, I was someone who is reserved. My character and my performance was up to scratch. Yes, no one is perfect, but yes, I was within.
Okay.
Yes.
Then after when he looked for you, then you went and.
He was now working for another company. I think it was Lotus Manufacturing. They were doing stationery and plastic ware, things like that. That's where he was working. So I went there. That's when he had moved from that company, but he was working for another company. That's where I joined him there. From 2000, 2001, 2002, 3, 4, yes, until 2005, I was at that company.
Okay.
Yes. You know, I was now changing company after the other until I left there in 2004 or 2006 and came here to South Africa.
Okay.
Yes.
What led you to think of going to another country? In this instance, what led you to think of going to South Africa?
I see the economy, Zimbabwean economy had collapsed, and you know, everything, wherever you go, because I changed jobs. I worked for one of the big companies that I thought maybe, yes, I would be okay. And for sure, I was earning a good money there, but a good money of no value. So you'd find, even if I look for a job anywhere in Zimbabwe, it wasn't going to match what I was getting there. So I realized that this money can't buy anything. So I had to try some new waters.
So in other words, it was the value of the man.
Yes.
From the other side, you are saying you were earning good money.
Yes.
But it was, considering its value, it was good money with no value.
Yes, you could
then
not do anything.
Pushed you to think of migrating to South Africa.
Yes.
Tell us, when you come to South Africa, did you have somebody that you knew by then who was... tell us what happened though. How did you...
Yeah, you see, when I was contemplating to come to South Africa, I never thought of coming to South Africa initially. I wanted to go to Botswana because South Africa needed a visa. And for you to get a visa, you were supposed to have 1,000 rands, you know, for the traveling checks, so that you could have money to come and, you know, support yourself when you are within the Republic. Yes. So I didn't have such kind of a money. So I wanted to go to Botswana where it was just going for free because I had a friend who was there. So eventually, a friend of mine, he heard me talking about going to Botswana. Then he said, why can't you go to South Africa? I said, no, I don't have the money. He said, no, I'll give you the money for the visa. So he gave me 1,000 rands for the visa. I processed I submitted for my visa application. And as soon as I got my visa, I crossed to South Africa. Yes, I had a friend of mine who was by the name Isaac Chitauro. So I had a cousin of mine who was in South Africa. So I said, I've got a cousin who is in South Africa. Let's go there. So we went to...
Oh, you came, the two of you?
Yes.
With this Chitauro guy?
Yes.
Okay.
So we came to South Africa. I visited my cousin because I told him I'm coming. But now he was staying in the rural areas then in Zebetiera where there were no industries. So now I had to, you know, we stayed there 3 days. We could find there's nothing that we could do here. So apparently this friend of mine, Chitauro, had a colleague who was his senior when he was doing his apprenticeship, who was in Joburg. So he contacted him. He said, no, that's my situation, I'm here. So he just said, I know, you can come. I will pick you up when you get to Park Station. So we got a taxi from Zebediela there. We got to Joburg. So that guy, senior guy, is by Majuru. His name is Majuru. He took us from Park Station and he offered us shelter. Yes, you know, he took care of us, the two of us. Yes. So, yes.
How long did it take you to get a job when you arrived in South Africa? Like now, you moved from Zebediela, you're coming to Joburg, Johannesburg. Now you're in Johannesburg, where you thought, or where you could see some opportunities. I mean, considering your qualifications. How long did it take you to get a job?
No, it didn't take me long, because I remember I stayed a week in Joburg here. Then I went to Port Elizabeth to, you know, process to, you know, asylum papers, because you could not get, you know, the employers, you know, wanted something, you know, so that, you know, you won't be someone who is illegal.
Why did you think of going to Port Elizabeth? Why couldn't you do those papers in Johannesburg?
Because of too much demand here in Joburg. A lot of people were here, so it was, the rumors were saying you can spend some days, you know, in vain. So out there by the outskirts there, it was easy. So a friend of ours just advised us to go to Port Elizabeth, so that when we went to Port, we came back with the papers. And eventually, the same time we brought the papers, we got the job.
The job now?
Yes, at the same company with my friend.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell us now, when you get the job now you're working now, how was the relationship with other workers, let's say local workers? You being a Zimbabwean, you have just arrived, now you are amongst them. How were you interacting?
You see, it was a very small company. So apparently we were just 4 Zimbabweans who were working for this guy. He's an Indian guy. So we were doing machining there. There was no South African who was working there. The South African boy and the girl who were working there, the boy was our assistant. The girl was, you know, was the one who was responsible for cleaning the offices and and stuff. So there was no competition, there was no that tension or whatever.
And what was the relationship between you as workers and the owner now?
The relationship was good, because to him it was an advantage because he was offering us very low rates. But to us, we're very happy because I remember after working for 2 weeks, we were working from 7:30 in the morning to even to 9 o'clock in the evening. We were working through and through. So the longer you could work, the more you could get.
Or you were getting something like overtime? Right?
No, there was no overtime, but you were paid according to the number of hours that you work. So you were forcing yourself to work long hours, so that
you were paid per hour. So the
hour.
more the hours that you work, the more that you're gonna.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. You remember, I remember I was earning 30 rand an hour. So 30 rand by 10 hours.
Which year was this?
That was 2006.
Okay.
Around June, July, somewhere there.
Okay.
So 2000 earning 30 rand an hour by 10 hours, which means 300 rands a day.
A day.
So now I remember working for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I had to go back home, to see my family. It was now after a month now. That's how.
So, just tell us more. You said you changed now. Now you were changing the companies now. What was leading you to change the companies?
Now, we are now getting exposure. Now like I said, we're now established here in South Africa. So now you would look for greener pastures. You would look for, better offers. So yes, that was the reason behind. And now by so doing, I would come back to your question. Now that's where we made some challenges. Now we're getting into the territories of our counterparts, the South Africans. Us me being a foreigner, you would meet like the language barrier and all those challenges. Yes.
And how are you managing to maneuver or to keep going?
Just to keep focus, where there's tension, I would just isolate myself, and I would try by all means to avoid, whatever arguments or disputes. So yes, even if someone is showing some signs of resentment, that's fine. I'm just there to work for my family. That's all.
So, in other words, you are saying it was the way you were handling or behaving that was keeping you going. I mean, in terms of if things are not going well, if there's to avoid any sorts of tensions.
You see, not everyone, but you would find, even being brothers in the family, you would find someone where you would be fighting time and again, being brothers. So it's just like that. You go to a new place, some they are easy to socialize with, some they are not sociable. Yes. So you just find someone who is sociable, and that's how you make friends.
Okay.
Yes, those ones who have got some resentments, attitude, you just avoid them.
Tell us something. Now we are about to round off. During the time that you came, that was around 2005, 2006, and now we are in 22. What is it that you can say, hey, there's a difference here? Is it still the same?
Actually, South Africa has changed drastically, because during that time, when I came in 2006, during that period, I could change jobs. If I feel like the employer is not treating me well, or this environment, the type of job that I'm doing, is straining me, is wearing me out, I would just look for another one. I remember posting, some other time I posted my CV around 8 o'clock. Around 10 o'clock, I received some calls and I went for interview. So the jobs were easily accessible. Yes. I remember going around in the industries, just seeing a company written by the gate, engineering. I would just phone there, get a job. But now jobs are very scarce.
It's different.
Yes, jobs are very scarce. Even if you are mistreated where you are right now, we are just hanging on. It's no longer the same. Yes, you're just hanging on.
Tell me one more thing. As you were in South Africa, especially back then, I want to know how, because some people tell us that they were always opening up their eyes to see if there's police, because there was this kind of, like if you're a foreigner. Maybe in your case, you said you had an asylum, so you had your papers, so it was not a big challenge.
Right. When from there, when I got the asylum paper, I immediately made an effort to have a permit now, because we were now knowing what is happening. So I eventually got a permit, and the agent that I gave now, there were those critical skills quota permits. Instead of doing for me a quota permit, he had to do for me staying with a life partner in South Africa. So the partner whom I didn't know. So he organized me that permit. It was genuine, yes, I could go home, but it was limited. So eventually I had to organize for a work permit with the proper one, and that's when I got my first critical skills permit. Yes, so the issue of police, to me, I never experienced it.
Okay.
Even the time that I was waiting for the permit, working around, I never had those challenges. Yes. Until recently, yes.
Okay. Tell us, would you see yourself like going back to Zim one day?
Yes, home is best.
And would you see yourself like going back to Zim and work?
As I see, I'm not going to Zim to work. I don't think so. Right now, I'm still here in South Africa. I'm not planning to go to Zim anytime soon. Of course, I'm making arrangements. I must establish a home. But for now, I'm here in South Africa. When the time comes when I decide to go to Zim, I'll be going to just to stay at my place, doing whatever projects. Or well, if I'm going to work, that will be another issue. For now, my working is here. Home is just for visiting, and yes.
Would you see yourself again, maybe one day, going to another country, migrating to another country?
I've been pondering about that, but considering my age right now, settling paper issue is not that easy. It's very, I don't want a situation whereby I would start again, working around, for paper issue, family to follow. So my aim is, if I'm going to another country, it will be like on contract basis.
Okay.
Be it a year, or I get a 2-year contract, then I come back. Yes, but for now, South Africa is my home. Unless or otherwise something happens. But for now, that's how it is.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kensington Kapanga. Thank you so much. Thank you. We have heard your story. It's a very interesting story, and I hope it's going to inspire someone somewhere, someday. These are the stories. You might have your own story. Everyone has got a story. This is the platform that we give you, or we do it together, so that other people out there will also get to have the power to keep on going in life, no matter what stories we have, no matter what we go through in life. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. There will be another guy next time. We thank you. Keep watching. Without you, we will not get where we are going. But with you, sky is the limit. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.